দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি সবাইকে চ্যানেল 24 এর সাপ্তাহিক আয়োজন ইনসাইডে ইকবাল হাসান আছি আপনাদের সাথে। আজকে আমরা আলোচনা করব ইউকে বাংলাদেশের বাণিজ্য এবং বিনিয়োগ সম্ভাবনার বিভিন্ন বিষয় নিয়ে। আপনারা জানেন যে ইউকে ট্রেড এনভয় ব্যারনেস রোজি উইন্টারকন তিনি বাংলাদেশ সফর করছেন এবং বিভিন্ন প্রতিষ্ঠান ঘুরে দেখেছেন দুই দেশের বাণিজ্য সম্ভাবনা, বিনিয়োগ সম্ভাবনা এবং চ্যালেঞ্জেসগুলোর বিষয়ে তিনি বিভিন্ন মন্ত্রণালয়ের সাথে বা বিভাগের সাথে কথা বলেছেন। তার কাছ থেকে আজকে আমরা বাংলাদেশের বিভিন্ন বিষয় এবং সম্ভাবনাগুলো নিয়ে আলোচনা করব। একই সাথে 2026 পরবর্তী এলডিসি গ্র্যাজুয়েশনের পর ইউকে বাংলাদেশকে কোন ধরনের সহায়তা দিতে পারে সেই বিষয়গুলো জানব। Welcome in our show and thank you very much for giving us some time. As I know, the UK has been a long-standing development partner of Bangladesh. So how do they intend to continue this cooperation in future?
Well, as you say, there's been a long-standing relationship between the UK and Bangladesh. And I've been visiting this week and have been very impressed by not only the strength of that continuing relationship, but the fact that there's a lot we can build on to make it even more of a partnership as we move forward through the next months and years.
In your eyes, what's the main obstacle of Bangladesh economy, and here how UK cooperate with Bangladesh to develop in these issues?
Well, in the past there have been some concerns expressed by business about the business environment. Sometimes there has been seen to be a level of regulation which has perhaps got in the way of businesses expanding and investing further. But what we've been doing is working very closely over the last few months and years in a number of areas to make sure that the environment is conducive to increased investment. We've been working with the Bangladesh Bank on banking reform. We've been working with the Ministry of Commerce on creating a pool of trade negotiators, working with BEDA. I spoke at the BEDA Development Summit earlier in the year, and we've been working with them on ensuring that unnecessary regulations are moved and the regulatory environment is good for investment. And also His Majesty's Customs and Revenue have been working to look at the customs environment. So we feel that that has been good progress, and that means that there is a good environment for us to take forward even further the partnerships that have been created.
Do you have any specific project or plan to resolve these issues from UK side?
Well, as I say, what we're trying to do is work very closely, but in partnership with Bangladesh and the Bangladesh government and authorities to make sure that when business says to us there is more investment that we would like to make, but there are certain obstacles in the way, that we are able to say, look, action is being taken to remove those obstacles, and so please look more at the investments that you can make. I mean, today visiting Tejgaon and looking at the changes that have been made to ensure that exports can get more easily to the UK. It's that sort of thing, very practical changes that can mean a lot, though, in terms of increasing investment, allowing businesses to grow, and that, quite frankly, is to the benefit of both the UK and Bangladesh.
Beyond the economics and trade issues, how UK support Bangladesh to develop in social sector like education, health?
Well, we're very interested in helping develop girls' education. There's a lot that has been happening in specific projects, perhaps when girls have been out of school for a certain amount of time, to be able to encourage them back into school. In terms of health projects, again, we've been looking at ways that we can increase the knowledge that we have, that we can share about health projects that can particularly benefit people who may not be getting the treatment that they need. You look at things like screening programs and so on. Again, those are areas that we want to develop. And I'm very interested as well in the area, as well as girls' education, general education. How we make sure that, for example, UK universities can provide courses in Bangladesh. We've seen a very good development between BRAC and SOAS, whereby a PhD can be accredited. And that has the advantage of widening the number of young people in Bangladesh who can get a university UK accredited course and qualification without having to go to the UK, which can be extremely expensive, but then have those skills retained in country. And that's a very important part of building up the social fabric, increasing education and increasing skills. And businesses are always very interested in how we can make that a reality, and that's what we've been doing.
Very important issue for Bangladesh. The UK has launched a special scheme for LDCs called DCTS. So thank you from Bangladesh side. Is there any opportunity to extend this beyond 2029 for Bangladesh?
Well, as you say, this is a very, very generous scheme. And that means that in up to 2029, 100% of tariffs for it tariff-free. But beyond that, only 98% of exports, 98% of exports will remain tariff-free, only 2% will be covered. So it's a very generous scheme, and I know that it has been widely welcomed, and certainly it's been widely welcomed by the businesses that I talk to.
Will Bangladesh have any opportunity to negotiate regarding the DCTS to gain further more opportunity in future?
Well, I mean, there are changes that we've announced recently on rules of origin, for example, which again have been welcomed by the business community. But as I say, we mustn't underestimate the fact that the scheme that has been drawn up is extremely generous and has been the result of some careful negotiation already.
Yes. But around 2029, when the effectiveness of DCTS concludes, what should be Bangladesh's next course of action?
Well, as I've said, only 2% of goods will come under the tariff regime after that. So in the meantime, you know, we have to look at all the other opportunities that are available. And I just would like to mention, for example, British international investment, which has got £450 million available. I've seen some of the examples of that recently. We've got £2 billion through UK export finance. Again, these are all opportunities to encourage investment through business, but directly helped by the partnership we have with the Bangladesh government. So when you look at all these things together, I believe that there are huge opportunities that I want to see turned into reality in the next coming years.
What are the major obstacles in investment? You already mentioned some issues, but in the long run and in the midterm, do you have any plan to invest in Bangladesh, specifically from UK sides, UK business leaders or UK business community?
Well, that's the point that we've been, that I've been making about, for example, as I said, the British international investment, which is looking all the time at projects when they come forward, how we can increase investment in respect of that. The UK export finance. These are all opportunities for the future that we want to see encouraged. And the other way round, of course, there are areas that we think can be diversified. For example, if we look at agro-processing, again, that's a big opportunity that we think more could be taken advantage of. Leather goods, different areas where perhaps moving away from a huge reliance on the ready-made garment sector into those other areas would be extremely important.
In your eyes, which sector is more potential for Bangladesh to invest or to attract the foreign investment?
Well, as I've said, there are certainly money is going into climate change remediation factors. There's been investment from British international investment into that. We think the agricultural sector has got potential, certainly for investment and then export. Cultural, traditional cultural work can be done. There's a big demand for that, we think, and we've met with people who, for example, we had people who came over, women who came over to the UK for Manchester Fashion Week, have found exporters, but also, perhaps not just in the traditional sectors, but some of the other cultural sectors as well, whether that is textiles, ceramics, these areas where, mentioned over and over again, people have said we think there is a market there for export and investment.
You know, Bangladesh is highly dependent on single product for export to the global market. Almost 82% export earning comes from the RMG sector. So how Bangladesh or what could be done for product diversification and market diversification?
Well, this is what we want people to take advantage of, the opportunities that we're encouraging. You know, when we talk about export finance that's available, when we talk about British international investment, when we talk about the opportunities that can come through education, but we need to, and that's part of the work that we do, is trying to reach out to people to say, please do take advantage of this, come up with the ideas, and we will work in partnership to help people access what is needed in order to develop them. But we do want people to come forward, hence the very good idea to be doing this interview, so that people can become more aware of what we are trying to do in partnership with Bangladesh.
Of course. How could increase the bilateral trade between two countries?
Certainly. We are one of the biggest foreign investors. There is a big amount of exports, as you know, and as you said, some of it is in the ready-made garment sector. But because those ties have been built up, that's where there is the potential for growth in the future. That's the important point. We have those links. We are able to talk with the government, with the business community, with organisations like BIDA. As you know, I've said at the development summit earlier in the year. So the potential is there. We always want to expand it. Both our countries want to expand it. But we just have to continue working together, continuing to send, as a trade envoy, a message to the business sector here and the business sector in the UK. Let's get that trade going. Let's make sure it's increased even further than it is at the moment.
I have just two questions in different track. For the past few months, we have seen in British media that the money smuggled from Bangladesh and being seized by the country's National Crime Agency and also are being sold some of this portion. So how can British government assist Bangladesh in repatriating the laundered money from UK?
Well, as you have said, there is work going on at the moment with regard to asset recovery. I wouldn't want to comment on individual cases, but that work is ongoing.
What does the British government thinking about it, or what does British government want from Bangladesh side?
As I've said, I think the British government has indicated, certainly through organisations that you've mentioned, that it wants to work in partnership and do what it can to assist in terms of asset recovery.
Okay, my last question to you. How can two countries work together to stop money laundering?
Well, I think all the agencies want to work at an international level wherever it's happening on money laundering. And I would extend that to the work that is being done to combat things like human trafficking, drug trafficking. These are all areas where, you know, international cooperation is needed more than ever. And we have to tackle this. We have to tackle this. It's a high priority because of the effect on all sorts of areas in both our countries.
Thank you very much. We'd like to conclude today's discussion and hope to get another opportunity in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
দর্শক এর সাথে শেষ করছি আজকের মতো ইনসাইট। ভালো থাকবেন সবাই।